Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Daniel,
Yes.
you have thoughts.
I have thoughts. Yes. Yeah, I have thoughts about Ahsoka. Yeah. So, as DB mentioned at the beginning of the show, I watched Ahsoka from beginning to end, even though I really didn't have to. I did it anyway. Um,
We are not
so
paying you enough as to be our Disney Plus correspondent.
no, 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 we're not. Um, so basically, if you, I'm sure other people have probably seen other reviews of the series. Um, I think what it boils down to for me is I have never watched a TV show that's 8 episodes long, with each episode clocking in around an hour, maybe sometimes a little over 40 minutes, where nothing happens.
That's an accomplishment because you'd think that just by dumb luck, something would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing happens. It's just, yeah, it's amazing. And Ninja says, number one way to fix Ahsoka, fix on the title character. Yes, and exactly. Instead of making Rebels final season, yeah, this show is basically Dave Filoni doing a season 5 of Rebels.
Which, considering that people were very receptive to that last season of Clone Wars they put out,
Yeah,
why not just make another season of
season
Rebels?
Rebels. Yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, yeah. What haven't been catching up with the show at all? You're not missing anything really. So basically, what happens is
Oh, wait, did I say last season of? Did I say last season of Rebels? I meant to say last season of Clone Wars they put out a couple years back.
right. Yeah, yeah. We're yeah. Like the last episode was with Order 66.
Right.
Yeah, and Ahsoka has to escape from Rex and the clones.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, this was just like, I mean, yeah, and for those of for everybody who before the show came out that said, "Oh, you don't need to watch Rebels to know what's going on in the show." BS, you do. Um, I mean, because I mean, from from like the guys from Midnight's Edge and Film Threat and everybody, they're like, "Who's this Ezra guy, and why do we care about him so much?" Um, and uh, but yeah, that was so basically what happens is there's this whole thing where uh the witches from
Dathomir.
Dathomir, thank you. I knew it
Yeah.
started with a
Yeah.
D.
It's, it's something they pilfered from the expanded universe, so I know it.
Okay, yeah. The witches from Dathomir are trying to bring Thrawn back from the other galaxy. And of course that's where Ezra is too. And then Sabine and Ahsoka go, and it's a bunch of BS happens, and then Thrawn's there, and then okay, as Ninja pointed out, this isn't a show about Ahsoka. Ahsoka is essentially a background character in her own show, much like Picard was in the first two seasons of Star Trek Picard. He's just kind of she's just she doesn't do anything to really advance the plot. She doesn't do much other than like just as you see, just stand around with her arms crossed.
Which is kind of funny when you think about it, considering that she wasn't even the biggest character in Rebels, right? Like she was like an
No.
occasional guest star.
Right, yeah, she shows up in she was a reoccurring character in the second season, and then she doesn't we don't see her again until season 4 in one episode. Because in season 2, in the last episode of that, she has her big fight with Darth Vader,
Hmm.
and uh, and then Ezra is in the world between worlds, and he sees her fighting Vader, and then he pulls her into the world between worlds right before the Sith temple collapses,
Hmm.
and that's how she survived. And we don't see her again until the last episode, but I went back and rewatched Rebels, and I was right. At the last scene in Rebels is the last scene at the end of the second episode of Ahsoka, where Ahsoka
Mhm.
goes to Lothal to get Sabine, and then they can go get Ezra. Um, but what I mean, one of the things I probably would have done very early on is like just have Thrawn come back to the galaxy. Just this whole BS with just have the witches bring him back, and then have like and then maybe like Ezra finds a way to piggyback, hitchhike from him, and then move into what would happen, with Thrawn being in the galaxy, as opposed to like Thrawn and Ezra going back to the galaxy, and then Ahsoka and Sabine end up being, spoiler, they're stranded in the other galaxy. They just swap places.
Is that how is that how we explain why Ahsoka wasn't around during the sequel trilogy?
Maybe. I don't know. Of course, they never explained why she wasn't around during the rebellion.
Yeah, well, clearly because she didn't like Luke, jealous that
Oh,
jealous of Anakin's real kids.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I will, and that's another thing that bothered me was, of course, everybody, the big pivotal moment everybody liked to talk about was Anakin's cameo,
Hmm.
bringing Hayden Christensen back, and they threw in the member berries with the Clone Wars animated series. I mean, they had they had Hayden Christensen dressed in the Clone Wars armor garb that he wore in that show, and had teenager Ahsoka there, played by a different actress. And
Who apparently could emote better than Rosario is as his character.
yeah, 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 and I don't know, I don't put that on her because she's actually a really good actress. I mean, I've seen
Hmm.
her in other things, like the Netflix Marvels shows. I mean, she was really good in those.
All right, she was
I,
the
I
night nurse, right?
right, yeah. Um, I put that, it's 100% on Dave Filoni, because I think if there's one thing that this show proved, Dave Filoni is a hack. He he has no idea what he's doing. Left to his own devices, he has no idea. He has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know how to do any kind of storytelling. I mean, this is a lot of people pointed this out, and I agree with it. This, like, my 10-year, this was like something my 10-year-old niece would have written, story wise. It's just it's so, yeah. Make a show about Ahsoka. Make a good show about Ahsoka. That's how you fix this ultimately.
So I have a slightly different proposal, but I'm going to start with I'm going to steal your basic idea of
Okay.
having it be where Thrawn shows up at first.
Yeah.
Um, and or the or the dilemma that the characters find themselves in is that you have these people who are Ezra's crewmates, right? Like
Right.
they were brothers and sisters in arms, and
Yeah.
he suddenly shows up. The guy who he was with suddenly shows up. Where's Ezra? And so you have a thing where Hera, who's now a higher, who's now in the New Republic,
Right. Yeah.
kind of to give her a point besides having a nice butt. A bunch
Yeah.
of gratuitous ass shots that I saw online. Uh,
I'm not complaining about those.
yeah, right now. Got to keep, if you can't have storytelling or acting, you got to have the hook the audience somehow.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But her dilemma is that Sabine and Ahsoka want to trace Thrawn's path back through the galaxy to figure out how Thrawn came back so they
Mhm.
can go get Ezra. But she has her duty to the New Republic. So, you know, moral quandary, character
Right. Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and then it's like them going to rescue Ezra, then coming back to try and stop Thrawn in time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if you
that
don't want to show the other galaxy, you could even have it be like, say, Thrawn returns with Ezra in chains, and he decides to leave him like you left me, buried alive, buried alive, like
Thrawn.
Thrawn, and you just leave him on like a prison planet somewhere in the Outer Rim or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, that's the other thing too. Is supposedly this is like 10 years after Rebels.
Hmm.
They've been on the same planet for 10 years.
Yeah, like they had a ship, right?
Yes, at a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, you okay. So to be mildly fair,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have any hyperspace maps for a different galaxy, so there
Okay,
would be the danger of running into a supernova or a black hole.
that's true. Okay. Yeah,
But
okay. I get it.
but you're also I'm also giving them more credit than that because I doubt they actually stated that in the show.
They didn't. No.
Right, so that's actually a line you could do. We were stranded because we couldn't safely hyperspace anywhere, and it was an uninhabited planet we ended up on.
Well, when that one it wasn't actually uninhabited. I mean, there were
Oh,
there's
the snail people,
the
right?
snail. Yeah, the snail turtle people. Yeah.
But did the snail turtle people actually have space travel?
No.
Okay, then that's as good as uninhabited from the position of a Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah, and Ninja says it seems to me that Filoni loves Star Wars too much. Want to bring back the old stuff without the willingness to change it to make a good story.
It's almost like he loves his Star Wars too much.
Yeah, that's I would agree with that. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Like you gotta have a willingness to break your characters occasionally. I mean, in like a good sense.
right.
Like in my current book, I have a character who part of her character journey. This book, she keeps being a meddling bitch,
Yeah,
but it makes sense for her and her character growth because she's got to get over something
right. Yeah.
that she is not finding a healthy way to get over.
Hmm.
I, I, I'm not the biggest Rebels or Clone Wars fan, but I can't think of any time since George left that Ahsoka did anything like really morally questionable.
I can't think of any either.
Right, because he is kind of her Mary Sue at this point, or
Pretty much. Yeah,
other way
basically.
around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Swapped the genders, but
Right. Yeah.
which is a prelude for our next topic. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's
but since you're the one who actually sat through this darn thing and tortured yourself,
yeah.
what are your final thoughts on what went wrong or what could have gone right?
Well, what went wrong was everything went wrong with this. Everything went wrong. Um, what they could have done is just well, okay. One thing they could have done, and I think I heard this on Film Threat. It should have brought in a new character, like maybe have them be Ahsoka's apprentice,
Okay.
and they don't know who anybody is, and Ahsoka has to, and the other characters fill them in on what's going on.
Yeah, that is amazing just how having a character who's unfamiliar with things can really help with the exposition.
Yeah, maybe even have a couple of flashback scenes. Just
Hmm.
something. That is the biggest problem with this show is that you had to have watched Clone Wars and Rebels to know what was going on. And even if you go on Disney Plus and you watch the quote unquote essential episodes, to get an understanding of what's happening in Ahsoka. As the guys at Midnight's Edge pointed out, the running time of all of those episodes is longer than the running time for all 8 episodes of Ahsoka. So
So they've talked about doing for Star Wars what Marvel did for themselves. I don't think what they meant was making incomprehensible continuity that requires having been a fan for a decade.
exactly, yeah. So Yeah, that's yeah. So I would do. So what I would do is bring in a new character to help with fill in any blanks, uh, progress the story a little quicker. Add some more stakes in, and put the majority of the focus on Ahsoka rather than Sabine, which was where most of it was on her.
I almost wonder, did they name it Ahsoka because she is the most famous character? Like, and everyone would just go, "The fuck's a Sabine?" if they made the show called Sabine.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
well.
but that's enough of me talking about this poor TV show.
Yep.